I was still a kid when I first heard it.
So it was probably something from all those guys who did all that slang stuff. Forget their name. Name's long forgotten. Well aware of that.
A lot of old groups back then were one-hit wonders, and that was about it.
They all got jobs as the barflies, bartenders. Are you a struggling musician and need to work? Do you like pouring beer? Do you like mixing drinks? Come to work for us. Well, there's a convoy.
Yeah, right.
We'll just stop because of the weather. Park it here. I had 5G in there, please.
Yeah, I noticed I had it too.
Mailbox, Becky. Well, son of a bitch. I found where the other bottle is. Hey, Spice is still there.
Sworn in as President of the United States. And while Trump has spent the week courting controversy by selecting several Washington outsiders, some with questionable resumes, as member of his future cabinet, Americans have questions about what policy
She thought I was a little underdressed.
second administration. Our partners at
She goes, "You cool?" I said, "No, I haven't been out long enough."
website asked readers what they wanted to know about Trump's plans for his second administration, and they received queries about everything from the future of Social Security to the impact of tariffs. We're betting you out there, our listeners, might have similar questions. So joining us now for some answers is
kitties
Lou
are-
Jacobson. He's chief correspondent with PolitiFact. Lou, welcome.
Thanks so much.
Lou, let's start with one of your readers who is in Arizona. Now, this reader says much of the produce that they buy, including tequila, comes from Mexico. And the question here is
Are you
that
hungry?
something Trump has said
No?
with regards to
Not really.
tariffs. He said he'd subject Mexico to 25% tariffs on the country's exports. The question is, how will this affect prices?
So this will depend on the scale of the tariffs and whether Trump carves out breaks for tariffs for certain sectors. If the tariffs are broad and deep, they definitely could raise food prices. Because profit margins for food are low, producers would likely pass along the costs of tariffs to consumers. Then there's also the question of farmers not being able to fully raise their crop output to meet consumer demand. That too could raise prices. And the various inputs that farmers need, from tractors to fertilizer, would also rise in price, and that would drive food prices higher still. Finally, Trump's proposal for deportations could make it harder for some farmers to find workers to harvest their crops. This could cause more spoilage and, you guessed it, higher prices.
Higher prices on products from Mexico, wouldn't that then fulfill the Trump promise of making us buy more American-produced goods because the prices will be lower?
It could, but it depends on how fast the tariffs get put in place, because farmers have already planned out their crops. They can't just suddenly shift on that.
Got it. Now, many Americans are also concerned about Social Security. They're wondering if they should reevaluate their plan on when to start withdrawing benefits. Tell us more about Trump's plans for Social Security.
Sure. So Trump promised not to change the Social Security retirement age or to reduce benefit levels. And if he keeps those promises, the program would basically keep going like it is right now for the next couple of years. But the problem is that Trump's overall fiscal policies, including his tax breaks, would speed up the date for the Social Security Trust Fund becoming insolvent by about 3 years, shifting from 2034 to 2031, according to the projections we've seen. If that happens, it would force large mandatory across-the-board cuts in payments to seniors, and you would be looking at a one-third cut starting only 6 years from now.
Okay. You also heard from another reader asking about the impact Trump might have on healthcare for transgender people. What do we know there?
Yeah, so Trump has said he opposes gender-affirming care for youth. Now, experts tell us that Trump could roll back the Joe Biden-era policies on some transgender issues, and the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear arguments on December 4th in a lawsuit over a bill passed in Tennessee, which would ban gender-affirming care for youth. And that Supreme Court ruling could really shape future federal actions if they're more permissive in terms of setting regulations and restrictions. Then Trump could follow that lead.
Before we let you go, like many Americans, your readers are also wondering about Project 2025. It's a controversial plan written by conservatives to overhaul the U.S. government. Trump distanced himself from Project 2025 on the campaign trail. Is he backtracking on that?
Well, it's still pretty early. We don't know for sure yet how he's going to pursue what's in Project 2025. It is a 900-page policy document, so there's lots and lots and lots of policies in there. Some of which he's made clear that these are things he will pursue. He has said that he would try to eliminate the federal education department. He would reinstate a ban on transgender people serving in the military. He would build a southern border wall, and he would reclassify federal workers to make them easier to fire. Those are all things that are in Project 2025, and that Trump also said in his own voice on the campaign trail. But there are lots of other things in Project 2025 which are not things that Trump talked about during the campaign and that he hasn't really taken a stance on. To name just one example, Project 2025 has pages of suggested changes, many of them vague, for the National Weather Service and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration.
Okay, and we should point out that Trump has just picked Brendan Carr to lead the Federal Communication Commission, the FCC, and it was Carr himself who wrote the chapter on the FCC in Project 2025. Lou Jacobson is chief correspondent with our partners at PolitiFact. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
And Here and Now is a production of NPR and WBUR. I'm Deepa Fernandez in Alameda, California.
And I'm Scott Tom in Washington, D.C. It's Here and Now.
Funding for Here and Now comes from Olin College of Engineering, home of the Robot Truck, an autonomous robotics system created by a team of students and faculty who want to preserve soil health and make reading easier for small-scale farms. Learn more at olin.edu.
Colorado has the majestic Rocky Mountains, and it has the foothills of the Rockies. But where do the foothills end, and where do the mountains begin?
And maybe that makes our lives more interesting as we travel through the mountains and foothills. Do I feel like I'm in the foothills, or do I feel like I'm in the mountains?
Colorado Wonders looks at where the foothills end and the Rockies begin. Read the story and see pictures at CPR.org.
This is CPR News, 89.5 FM, KPRA in Junction, 88.3 FM KPRH Montrose, 88.3 FM KPYR Craig, and at CPR.org.
You turn to Colorado Public Radio for news and music, here for you because of donors who invest in this community resource. Thank you, Bev and Dave Groff, for your philanthropy. Learn about giving at CPR.org. Support comes from Comcast Business. From Main Street to Wall Street, Comcast Business provides business solutions ranging from cybersecurity solutions to round-the-clock partnership. Comcast Business, powering possibilities. Restrictions apply.
Support comes from Peak Ear, Nose, Throat, and Voice Center, where Dr. J. Michael King helps singers, speakers, and performers with voice disorders. Broomfield, Golden, Brighton, and now in downtown Denver. PeakENT and VoiceCenter.com.
When a 19th century railroad worker lost his life on the job in Salida, he left behind his loyal spaniel, Duke. The dog continued to go to the rail yard every day around the nearby Monte Cristo Hotel. With a winning personality, Duke endeared himself to everyone, locals, trade passengers, and hotel guests who looked forward to affectionate greetings from such a smart, handsome, and brave dog. Once a small child wandered onto the railroad tracks, Duke pulled him off and became a legend. When Duke died in 1902, the local paper declared, "Few there are among us who have as many warm, true friends as this faithful old dog." He was buried on the summit of Little Tenderfoot Hill, which for a few years was called Duke's. And his memory endures today at Salida's Loyal Duke Dog Park, a motel now named for him, and in stories and memories of the town mascot everyone loved. A Colorado postcard from CPU.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Lakshmi Sen. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office maintains it is opposed to dismissing President-elect Trump's criminal conviction for falsifying business records, but in light of the unprecedented nature of the case, District Attorney Alvin Bragg is suggesting that sentencing wait until after Trump's term ends in 2029. Over the summer, the Supreme Court ruled presidents have broad immunity from prosecution for official acts taken while in office. Cybersecurity experts on Capitol Hill are urging staffers to stay vigilant for sophisticated phishing emails following a breach this year of the Library of Congress's networks. Here's NPR's Jenna McLaughlin.
Congressional staffers learned this week that an unidentified adversary broke into the IT networks of the Library of Congress. The library officials say hackers may have had access to private communications between individual staffers in the House and Senate and employees of the library, to include Congress's private public policy research outfit, the Congressional Research Service. Now, Capitol Hill IT staff were warning congressional employees that hackers might use details from stolen emails to launch new attacks. That could include highly personalized phishing attacks. Staffers are warned not to click on any links in emails that appear to come from the Library of Congress or the Congressional Research Service. Jenna McLaughlin, NPR News.
White House envoy Amos Hochstein says Lebanon and Israel may be close to a ceasefire agreement. NPR's Jana Ruff reports Hochstein's arrival in Beirut comes a day after Israeli airstrikes hit central Beirut.
Hochstein held talks with Lebanon's prominent speaker, Noah Barry, who speaks for the militant group Hezbollah. Hochstein told reporters he believes there are stronger prospects now for a ceasefire deal.
I came back because we have a real opportunity to bring this conflict to an end.
The ceasefire would be based on a 2006 UN resolution, never fully implemented, that calls for both Hezbollah and Israeli troops to pull back from the border. Israel in October sent ground forces into Lebanon. It says it is targeting Hezbollah installations. It has also launched daily airstrikes, destroying entire communities in the south of the country. Jana Ruff, NPR News, Beirut.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has been reelected to his current position as the top Democrat in the chamber. The lawmaker from New York says the Democratic caucus is prepared to work with the incoming Trump administration to protect key programs such as Medicare and Social Security. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 32 points at 43,357. The S&P is up 26 points, and the Nasdaq has gained 187 points. This is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from ARM, committed to delivering innovative, advanced computing designed to enable worldwide companies to unleash the capabilities and experiences of AI. The future of AI is built on ARM.com. This is NPR.
This is CPR News at KRCC. I'm Mike Lamb. Following yesterday's announcement that deportations under the next presidential administration could come with a national emergency declaration and with the U.S. military, Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser says the state will go to court if necessary to preserve the state's policies, just like it did when the previous administration tried to withhold federal funding because it considered Colorado a sanctuary state.
The best sign of what we may face, I believe, is what we have faced before. They had agendas last time that were thwarted because courts stood up for the rule of law.
Weiser also says he would push back against sharing any data the state might have collected about new migrants. Survivors and family members of people killed in the 2022 mass shooting at Club Q in Colorado Springs have filed lawsuits against the sheriff's office and the club's owners. They allege the shooting could have been prevented. They point to the shooter's arrest a year earlier for kidnapping their own grandparents and reportedly threatening to become a mass killer. The Paso County Sheriff's Office will not comment on the litigation. Today is the 2-year anniversary of the Club Q attack. Denver International Airport is on track to reach 100 million passengers annually by 2027. The projection means DIA expects to reach that mark years ahead of schedule. CPR's Haley May reports the bump in traffic has led to poor customer satisfaction ratings measured by J.D. Power. She says the airport expects satisfaction to rise once construction ends.
The construction is supposed to wrap up in the Grand Hall in 2027. And in the fall next year, we should see the opening of a new security checkpoint, which should help speed things up and reduce crowding.
CPR's Haley May. As usual, the airline industry expects next week's Thanksgiving travel to be the busiest time of year. This is CPR News at KRCC.
Support comes from White Water Engineers, providing water rights, conservation, and advanced hydrologic analysis to help clients navigate uncertainty due to climate change and drought. Learn more at whitewater.com.
From NPR and WBUR, I'm Scott Tong, Washington, D.C.
And I'm Vipal Fernandez in Alameda, California. It's here and now. As scientists urge world leaders to slash carbon emissions, President-elect Donald Trump wants to increase the energy sources largely responsible for climate change. Throughout his campaign, he shouted slogans like "drill, baby, drill," and "frack, frack, frack." Now he's assembling a pro-fossil fuel team to do just that. His pick to lead the Department of Energy is a fracking executive. So what will all this mean for America's energy policy and the climate? Matthew Daly covers energy, climate, and the environment for the Associated Press. Is joining us from Washington, D.C. Matthew, welcome back.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Matthew, I want to start by asking you about the fossil fuel executive Chris White, who's Trump's pick for Energy Secretary. He has a history of downplaying the impacts of climate change, and he has no experience in government. Here he is talking about his views. This is a video he posted on LinkedIn last year.
There's no such thing as clean energy or dirty energy. All energy sources have impacts on the world, both positive and negative.
Now, there is strong evidence of the outsized role that oil, natural gas, and coal have played in climate change. Matthew, what do you expect from him if he's confirmed by the Senate?
Well, I think he's an interesting choice because he's sort of outspoken, which is kind of a quality that the President-elect Trump appreciates and wants to continue. And so he's somebody that will be willing to take on his critics, whether it's, Democrats in the Senate or just environmental groups in general. And I think he's going to be an interesting person to cover because he's so, free with his thoughts.
So what do we know about him? Is he a climate denier?
I wouldn't say denier so much. He has this sort of view that, if we just increase, GDP through greater fossil fuel production, you can lift people out of poverty around the globe. And, I think there's some evidence that is not accurate, but he wants to sort of promote the kind of the religion almost of, fossil fuel production and jobs are good for everyone.
Okay. Do we know what he's actually promising to do? And I guess the question really is, what can the energy secretary actually change?
Well, that's an interesting question because
Sorry,
the
I'm not doing
energy
okay.
secretary, people say
What's
it's
wrong?
a misnomer. It really should be the
Anxiety,
Department of
baby.
Science because they oversee 17 national research labs that are do top cutting-edge research on all kinds of topics, and also they oversee the nuclear fleet. There's really not as much involved with oil drilling. That's really more for
Now
the
you got a nice
Department of
little
Interior,
comfortable bed to
where
sleep in.
President Trump has selected North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum. And interestingly, Burgum is going to run this National Energy Council, which is a new thing that Trump created to promote what he likes to call energy dominance.
Okay, and kind of the triumvirate of this team is the EPA head, who Trump has tapped New York Congressman. He's a former New York Congressman, Lee Zeldin, to head. Let's listen to Zeldin speaking with Fox News earlier this month.
So day one and the first 100 days, we have the opportunity to roll back regulations that are forcing businesses to be able to struggle. They're forced to cut costs internally.
So is what Zeldin is actually saying happening? Because one of the things that we know is that oil production hit a record under President Biden. Biden granted almost 50% more drilling permits on federal land than Donald Trump did. And this is according to 2023 data from the Interior Department.
Right, I mean, there's sort of a timeline between when oil products get greenlighted and when they're actually drilled.
At first, before we went to the park, I was wondering if it was freezing at all. It was just like shit floating on top, but now it's frozen.
Yeah, it's getting ready for ice skating.
The price of oil went down. There was production.
Kids are going to be out there ice skating. I'm not.
Pandemic, and then obviously as we came out of the pandemic, demand increased. And a lot of those leases that Biden has
I'm a little too fat to be on that ice cream.
You got fat, man. You're chunky.
There's really, it's a hard thing. The president kind of takes credit for gasoline prices, but
I don't think you're fat at all. You got a lot of muscle.
Day-to-day effect at all. And I think it's something that is kind of fundamentally misunderstood.
Well, that's like as your belly's too close.
And I want to ask you about renewable energy. Trump has said he could reverse Biden-era climate policies.
I'll tell you what, when I gained that 40 pounds, I probably figured out my thyroid was a problem.
Obviously also very close with Tesla CEO Elon Musk. And he's a prominent person in the electric vehicle space. Where do you see this administration going when it comes to clean energy?
That will be a very interesting dynamic because Elon Musk is close to Trump.
Still underweight. I mean, I did get the weight. It's now a little bit.